170 kilo squat.
The new up 10. The jury overruled the decision. All right, beautiful. Big Ray beats on his chest. He shows who's king of the jungle. Come on, Big Ray!
Hello everyone, you know me, my name is Harnek, and I'm going to talk to Ray Williams today. In powerlifting, we don't need his introduction, but still sometimes people watch and they're not into powerlifting, so I will say a few words, then I will let him talk a little bit. He's from United States, Ray Orlando Williams, and he is at this time 4 or 5 time classic world champion powerlifting and world record holder, and I hope this is not his best what we have seen yet, because he's very young. For me, he's just a kid in powerlifting, because sometimes people think, oh no, the person is like 28, 30, 32 years. My understanding is in powerlifting, most of the lifters, they hit their peak at least maybe 35, 38, even 40. I've seen the lifter hitting their peak at 42, 44, if they're lucky enough not to get any injuries. So he improved a lot in a few years, and as I said, this is not the best we have seen from him. So I will ask him if he want to say a few words, just to introduce yourself from you.
As my host did before, well, he did so graciously. I am from the United States. I'm from Alabama, but I live in Mississippi. I've won 3 IPF Open Classic World Championships. Tomorrow I'll be competing for my 4th. And the super heavyweight division, the open super heavyweight division, is pretty stout. You have Jezza Uepa, who, other than myself, 1,000-pound squatter. Kelly Branton, I know you know Kelly from Canada.
Yeah, I know Kelly.
He's right there on the brink of squatting 1,000. I think he did 975 at the Arnold. And I think he came up so fast that he even surprised himself. So, who's to say that he couldn't have done 1,000 at the Arnold? But the super heavyweight division is pretty stout. 30 years old. I started powerlifting back in 2012. Yeah, 2012, October 8th, 2012 was my first meet. And I've only been doing this for about 5 years now.
I just wanted to ask, powerlifting. I don't think powerlifting is the only sport you play. Before you start to do powerlifting, which sports did you participate, or what did you do? First, and I will ask you 2 questions at the same time. What did you do in the other sports, and what made you to go into powerlifting? Why did you pursue in powerlifting if you played some other games before this?
All throughout high school, I played football. I played football 4 years of high school, 4 years at the collegiate level. And when I was done, both high school and college, I was the strongest person on the team. I didn't always start out that way, but just like anything, competition breeds more competition. So when I was done playing college ball, here I'm sitting here, 700-pound squatter, right at 500-pound bencher. Not super good numbers, but good for college football.
Yeah.
I just kept working out. Um, I had a 700-pound squat. I wanted to push. I kept pushing until eventually I got to 8. And like I said, October of 2012, the year 2012, early 2012, I stumbled on powerlifting through a friend of mine. He did a meet down in Florida and met some pretty cool people and told me about it. I liked it, and I was still working out, so I gave powerlifting a shot.
So this shot became like world championship, world record, and this and that. Uh, uh, are you really happy up to now with your improvement, or you think you have to push yourself a little bit more, or the progress is going? Sometimes we expect more, and sometimes we are happy what we're doing. So, are you okay with your training up to now?
Up to now, yes and no. Yes, because I've always given it my best. Like
Yeah.
no matter what I've done, I've always given it my best. And no, because there's so much more to learn.
Yes.
And I don't think I've improved based on me being stronger. I just learned how to be more efficient as a powerlifter because early on when I first started powerlifting, I had trouble with the rack commands. I didn't know the terminology. I didn't know like certain technique. Like I was terrible at deadlifting. Recently, I've sort of kind of tweaked my bench a little bit. I'm learning to be a better bencher. My squat has always been there. I've always been a good squatter, but there have been some things I've changed in that too, and that just comes through learning, competing against good lifters, rubbing elbows with good coaches, people that can give you feedback on what you do and what you're not doing correct. So I just think, just from a learning standpoint, I've improved way more than any other phase of my training.
The reason actually I asked you this question because sometimes when especially some beginners,
Mhm.
when they see a big lifter, they always think probably because the lifter is so strong, he's probably master of that technique and he knows everything. So I just wanted to listen from you to let people know that nobody is born skilled, and because you will be learning, believe me, even if you will be lifting 10, 20 years, you still learn new things. And the reason I say, if the big champions say, listen, there's no shame or embarrassment to admit that, I didn't know the things I had to learn. I give encouragement to the new lifter who are not really great champions that it's okay to admit that we have to learn, because that's why people say you need a good coach sometime, because the coach can pass you their skill, whatever they learn in 30, 40 years. Now, I will ask you a basic, like a few questions. How often you train and how long is your workout? And say like weekly, I'm not asking you your training routines or anything, just how often you train and how long roughly in a week or something.
I try to get between 4 to 5 days, depending on my work schedule. My workouts typically last between 3 to 5 hours,
Yeah.
and it's not because the workout is just that brutal. It's because I try to give my body time to recover, because I do lots of volume with heavy weight.
Yeah.
So I try to let my body recover a little bit. So depending on what day it is, whether it's leg day, well, every day to me is total body.
Yeah.
No matter what I do, I always do total body.
Yeah.
So if leg day is the focus, like if it's a squat, then after the squat I do some accessory work. I make sure I give myself enough time to let my body kind of come down, and so that I don't get injured or hurt myself in the process of training.
And when you eat, usually you enjoy your meal or you're very picky or careful what you eat.
Um, when I'm home, being that I can cook, and I also have a meal sponsorship from White Lights Kitchen, I pretty much get I pretty much get to, what's the word I'm looking for? I get to make my own menu, so to speak. I get to curate my own menu. And you know, the hard thing about being on the road, being so far from home, is I can't pick my food anymore. But as far as me eating, I eat a lot of carbs, I eat a lot of protein. Not so much fast food, but like being here for these few days has been kind of rough because I don't eat a lot of stuff. Like, you know, I'm a very picky eater, and a lot of people hear that and they're like, "How are you so big if you're a picky eater?" Well, the things that I do eat, I eat a lot of it. So yes, sir.
You know, yeah, because sometimes, you know, people, they have misconception. I know and met quite a few strongmen. Strongmen means, you know, people who compete in the world's strongest man.
Yes, sir.
So sometimes people always think a super heavy person, he doesn't have to worry about his weight. Like they can weigh like 150 kilo or 200 kilo. They don't have to worry about the weighing on the scale anyway because it's a super heavy. It's an open class. That's the reason I ask people, because if I would be telling people on your behalf, people don't want to believe me. Look, you're not a big guy. All you can say. So that's why I ask you. Sometimes even regardless how big you are, you still have to worry, like you don't want to eat too much fat or like, you know, fast food to just maintain and keep you in good shape or good health. And do you remember any like anything funny happened in your training or competition or something you don't want to forget? I give you one or two example what I'm saying. I saw one a lifter in a European Championship. He asked weight on the deadlift, and he tried to pull it. You see, sometimes the deadlift so heavy you can't even buzz. So he tried to pull the weight wouldn't move. So he walked away and a few feet, and he came back and tried to roll the weight to see if it's stuck and it's rolling, like because it's not even moving. Nothing like that, but sometimes, you know, you think, oh, something funny happened. If any incident happened in your training or you helping someone or competing or anything.
The funniest thing that ever happened to me was my very first Arnold. That day couldn't have went any worse for me. It all started with my squat because my first Arnold was not this year but last year, 2016, and they had 3 platforms going. And right before we went, I competed in the Pro Raw. They, you know, there was a meet before, they were deadlifting. There was a hole, there was a dent in the platform. So I got about 860 on my shoulders, and I walk it out, and I stumble backwards. And I still managed to get the squat, but it was hard, and it kind of threw me off. So I got red lighted my first 2 squats. I nailed my last one, which was like 903, which was nothing close to what I wanted to do. And then we move on to bench, and I tried to bench 540. So I'm just sitting there with 540, waiting on the bench command, and they've got the music blaring. I couldn't hear anything. So I just sat there for like 5 seconds. I'm like, I'm just going to bench. So I went and benched, and of course, I didn't get it because I was sitting there holding 540. Like, in a meet, that's probably the weirdest thing that's ever happened. In training, the weirdest thing that probably ever happened in training is you eat something that you probably shouldn't eat, then you go to the gym, and in between your workouts, you're running back and forth to the bathroom to the point where just like, you know what, I'm just going to scratch the workout today and start it all over tomorrow.
Yeah. So sometimes, you know, it wouldn't be very easy for people to train with you. Because if sometimes, you know, people come here and you squatting and say, can I just sneak in to have some reps?
Yes, sir.
I think it would be a little bit hard for a small lifter, so because you have to remove a lot of weight. And usually I see your videos, and most of the time look like you're training alone. Hardly there's any spotter You just put the safety chains kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Usually you train alone, or the gym is set up like that, or just nobody trained with you at that time.
It used to be, well, especially with my squat, I used to train on Monday nights at like 10 o'clock when I knew I would have the gym to myself. And recently I purchased a big wireless speaker. And the gym owner's house is right beside the gym. So kind of in the back of my mind, I was always worried about me playing my music too loud, too late. I may be disturbing them. So I kind of switched it up, and I started going Sundays. And to not get too far away from the point, yes, I do like to train alone. Until I break that 1,025 threshold, I'm comfortable with anything 1,025 and below. I'm comfortable getting that by myself. But anything above that, I sort of kind of want a spotter because, a lot of my friends and family, they know that I'm good at what I do. I'm gifted, blessed, however you want to say it. But things still happen. And so whenever I'm getting super heavy, I like to have somebody there. Not so much for the spot, because if I lose control of 1,025 pounds, like what can you do? So, if something does happen, I have someone in the gym that can give me some help. But as far as training, I do like to train alone because it gives you that sense of if you don't get it, then it's probably going to kill you.
Yeah.
So that's sort of kind of the reason I like to train alone.
How many competitions? Usually, I know from my own experience,
Yes, sir.
if you want to compete good competition, probably 3 a year. Some people compete 4 because sometimes the competitions are set like that. For example, I'm from Canada. We force people to compete in the provincial. Then you have to compete in the national. Then, of course, you compete in the world championships. So 3 big lifters, even Kelly, he has to compete 3 to come to the worlds.
Gotcha.
That will be his 3rd. Do you think 3 competitions are enough, or you can compete more, or you shouldn't? Just your own opinion. What do you think? How many competitions are easy or within range, like to compete? Good ones.
Within range, I'd say about 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Within these, especially when you're a super heavyweight, because we have a weird paradox when it comes to our training, because we're so heavy, we have to push the big total, because if not, our Wilk score. If you're a strong super heavyweight, you're gonna win your division. You're gonna win the 120 plus category, but all lifters want to be the best lifter at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, being that we're so heavy, we are always trying to increase our totals, which means that, that'll up that Wilk score. If we're not pushing, if you're not training, if you're not getting good training cycles in, then your total, it'll jump up a little bit at a time, but if you're not getting sufficient training, then your Wilk score will never be what it can be. And the only way you can get good training in is to do about 3 to 4, maybe 5 meets a year. But anything more than 5 is too much. I know my first year I did 7 in about 8 or 9 months, and I sustained the glute injury that pretty much rode with me for about 2 years. So you have to be smart and you have to be calculated if your goal is to get on the platform or win best lifter at these meets, these bigger meets.
I will ask you just one simple question, and I before you say something, I'll let you know this is not a criticism of anyone, because he talk about best lifter. Most of the power lifter, they know we talk about Wilks formula. Before he started to compete, we used to have Schwartz formula, not by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just called Schwartz formula. Someone created named Schwartz. At that time, we came to Wilks, which Robert Wilks created
Wilks. Yes,
from Australia. The idea was at that time some lifters complained that big lifters cannot win on Schwartz formula because it was not fair for big lifters. The way the coefficient was created, it favored the little people, lighter lifters. I'm not asking you to make like a hard complaint or say anything. What do you think? Still, Wilks is a fair formula for heavy lifters, or you think it's still it's hard for big supers to win the best lifter on Wilks points? What do you think personally?
Personally, I think it's fair. I mean, in my opinion, because even though we're big, being big doesn't always equal strong. And I think you have some small lifters that really push the envelope as far as competing for that competing for best lifter by Wilks. Prime example with me in the U.S. as far as Wilks score goes, my biggest competitor is Dennis Cornelius.
Yeah.
Dennis Cornelius is a 120 lifter, but I think in our past three big meets, nationals, two nationals, and a world championship, he got best lifter 2 out of the 3 times, because I'll squat 960, he'll be right there at 880, or he'll be right there at 865, and then his bench has always been phenomenal, and then his deadlift just puts him over the top. So, I mean, I think if you revise that formula, it's going to hurt powerlifting a little bit, because everybody's going to see a little bit of bias in it, no matter what it is. I mean, if you create a foolproof system of choosing the best lifter, people are still going to find fault in it, and maybe I'm wrong, because I came in under the Wilks formula. That's all I know. I don't know the Schwartz formula. So, and maybe I should do some research on that. But I think Wilks is fair. I think it keeps powerlifting competitive, and I'm living proof. I've been powerlifting. I've been competing since 2012, and I think I've won best lifter maybe 3 times.
Yeah. Because before the Schwartz formula, at that time people will say that the little guy, the lighter lifters, which is still true, even if you squat over 1,000 pounds, but still we cannot multiply your body weight, because some small lifters, they can equipped, of course, they can squat like over 5 times their body weight.
Yes, sir.
But for the super heavy, I mean, it's not even imaginable that someone squat, like if someone weighs say for 150 kilo, that would be almost like 700 over 700 kilogram. It's not really within reach or something. That's why the formula was changed at that time. Looking at that, it's very, very hard, almost impossible. So some people say that the reason I ask you not to complain about the formula or anything, because sometimes we talk, some people say no, it's favor still small people, and some people say no, it's good enough for heavy lifters. So the opinion, regardless what they do, as you said, it's very hard to make a foolproof formula.
Yes, sir.
But I just wanted to ask your opinion. I would like to ask you to say something. If you have, say you come there and they say, oh, listen, this is a Ray William, big power lifter, this and that.